So I hammered the raise hand button on Zoom to try to get up there, and I pitched him live. I got off the queue and I said, "Hey, JKL, I'm Arjan Peters. I'm building Burnt." He looked at me and said, "That's a very weird idea." But the next day we got an email from one of his investors. Within 2 weeks, we went from an idea on a rooftop to a term sheet from his fund. It was an absolute whirlwind, and we got incorporated, got the legal docs sorted, and suddenly the real work began. Have you found yourself scrolling LinkedIn lately and wondering, what the hell am I doing here? That exact feeling is where the idea for Burnt started. My name is Arjan Peters, and on today's episode of R4E, the Reason for Everything podcast, I'm pulling back the curtain to share the real story of why I created Burnt, the private network for top performers. So I've been recording this podcast for 2.5 years. It started in my apartment in early 2023. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do next. I had this entrepreneurial bug in me. I'd had a couple of ideas out of school, but nothing seemed to click. And I knew I couldn't just sit on my couch waiting for the next idea to strike. And I loved listening to podcasts. As you know, many of you know, I love to yap. And so I figured, let me go and start a podcast. I wanted to talk to friends, start with friends and friends of friends and founders and operators and investors to find their reason for everything moment. And after like 100 conversations, one lesson that came up again and again is that your network is the most important asset that you'll build. I know it sounds cliche. It's cringe to even say it, but I just believe it with my whole heart. And as I was building my own network through this podcast and, through my day job, I hit a complete wall. LinkedIn was great for promoting the podcast. It's great for building a brand, building awareness, but the platform felt like complete and utter slop. It's good for brand building, but not really good for connection. At the same time, I was dealing with headhunters and trying to hire people. That process was slow and old school and really expensive. And I just kept thinking there has to be a better way. The final piece of inspiration came from the All In podcast. If you guys know or listen to this show, I talk about them a lot. They have their haters, have their lovers, but and I'm probably somewhere in between. Probably more close to a mega fan than anything, actually, if I'm being honest. But in the All In podcast, one of their hosts, Jason Calacanis, he was the first investor in Uber. He kept talking about his new program called Founder University. So on just a random cold day, it was December 2023. I've been doing some research into building your own business. And I went to the roof of my building. I pulled out my phone and I recorded an application. And at that time, you needed to put in your name, your LinkedIn, and submitting a video about what you wanted to build. So I, went up to the roof. I got my phone out like a vlogger and said, "Hey, I'm Arjan Peters. I want to build a business called Burnt, the talent platform for burnt out professionals." The idea was to create a place where top performers in finance, tech, consulting could find their next job without the grind of resumes and coffee chats. My thought was, these top performers shouldn't have to deal with the same, LinkedIn easy applies or headhunting nonsense that are too busy grinding all day long. The last thing they want to do in their couple of bits of free time is to apply for jobs. So that was the thesis. I submitted that application and heard nothing for months. Then on March 24th of 2025, an email ended in my inbox that said that we'd been accepted to Founder University and the program starts in a week. And I was fired up. The first session was a blur. It was like a week later. It was a complete blur. But the one piece that stuck with me was they said, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go far, go together. So go find co-founders fast. So I called two of my friends, Louie and Gray, who both are much more technical than I am. And just like that, we had a team. The first night, Jason Calacanis, he came on the Zoom call with the other 300 founders that were accepted into the program and opened it up for questions. So I hammered the raise hand button on Zoom to try to get up there, and I pitched him live. I got off the queue and I said, "Hey, JKL, I'm Arjan Peters. I'm building Burnt." He looked at me and said, "That's a very weird idea." But the next day we got an email from one of his investors. Within 2 weeks, we went from an idea on a rooftop to a term sheet from his fund. It was an absolute whirlwind, and we got incorporated, got the legal docs sorted. They did their due diligence on us, which there wasn't much to do at this time because we were a very new business. And suddenly the real work began. We started talking to companies, telling them, "Hey, we're Burnt, the talent platform for burnt out professionals." And the immediate feedback was, "This is great, but why would I want to hire someone that's burnt out?" And so we were constantly starting all of our pitches on the back foot, explaining, no, like our members they're not tired of working. They're tired of working and rearranging slide decks for 80 hours a week. So it just wasn't, it was a good idea, but the value prop was hard to articulate really with the branding. And so we had our big pivot at that point. We realized that we were building it backwards. The value wasn't in the job board for a temporary problem, but the real value was in the network itself, building a curated collection of incredible people. You can't just build a network when you need a job. You need to, you have it to have for the rest of your life. And that's when Burnt became what it is today, which is the private network for top performers. And the idea caught relative fire. Friends of friends, this, network effect flywheel started going. People were interested. Companies wanted to hire from us. Members started joining the wait list. And this nagging feeling started growing inside of me. For 2.5 years, I've sat in this chair in different places, but it's been this chair for the most part. And I've heard the advice from every single founder that I've had on the other end of this podcast saying, you have to burn the boats. When you get rid of plan B, plan A has to work. But it was terrifying. I knew that I had a good idea here. We had a rubber stamp of validation and approval from a good venture capital fund. But yeah, it was terrifying. I had a cushy job, a good safety net. I was about to propose to my now fiance, and I had every reason to play it safe. But the conviction became just too loud to ignore. My risk tolerance is only going to go down and down as I get older, and I knew now was the right time. So 10 days ago, I did it. I formally burnt the boats and went full-time as the CEO and co-founder of Burnt. I can't even tell you how excited I am. My to-do list never ends, but for the first time, every single task really feels like it matters. I'm completely captivated by this mission of building the infrastructure for this next generation of leaders to connect. And I really think that the old models are broken, and we're here to build what's next. Want to give a huge thank you to everyone who's supported us so far, our early members, our customers, and you for listening. We're just getting started, and I'm excited to take this thing to the moon. If you're interested in learning more, you can find us at justburnt.com. That's just J-U-S-T, burnt.com. I'll drop it in the comments. I'll get back to our regularly scheduled programming with the podcast here soon, and just really fired up. And this podcast has been a huge unlock for me to get in front of the right people who have helped introduce me to my customers, who have been some of my customers now. And I'm just extremely grateful. So appreciate y'all for tapping in, and excited to chat here soon. Thank you.